and the abrupt, you know. Anyway, yes. How much? How long would it take me to go through all my files with all my comics that I've photographed, which is by far not the all of my collection, but it is the bulk of my collection. So let's get started. Why not? I'm crazy. Uh, we have over 200 uh, files to go through. Probably 200, around 270. I don't know. We'll find out together. Starting with box one here, Spider-Man 2099, 29. Now some of these will have duplicates because I did buy. You'll see multiple copies, like right here, uh, because I got these back in 1997 when I bought out Comic Store after my first collection burned up. It's hard to believe it's almost been 30 years since that happened. But yeah, a lot of this stuff I would not have unless that event happened. These were fairly brand new books at the time. There is, of course, a mixture, like Next Man. Very cool. Like there was a couple copies. Sometimes it'll skip there. I've got a couple of copies of that I bought on eBay. This was an early comic that I bought. I'll try and keep the comment. We've got a lot to go through, so I'll try and keep the commentary down. Uh, Love this cover. Um, I'll try and keep the commentary down to a minimum. I will check on the chat from now on, from time to time. Most of them are in brand new shape, fairly, nice shape. Nice holographic cover there. Uh, this one here, I actually have the Adler to production artwork too. I will mention those as I come across them. That's a Mike Nasser and Joe Rubenstein cover. He was kind of like a Neil Adams type style. I mentioned him the other day. I thought, crazy thought in my head, what if I showed all the files from my collection? One of the first books, this was the book I was mentioning the other day, and it did have the Private Lives of Bouncing Boy and Duo Damsel. One of the first comics I ever bought. Bought this at not this particular one because the original is gone, but Mike Grell cover here. Um, First appearance of this character here going up against the Legion. 1976. I bought the comic at TG&Y. They had this and like two other books that I picked up. I bought this off the stands at one time. Nice. I was reading Legion, some Legions here and there. They're offering the Super Friends Omnibus here pretty soon. I'm sure that will include this issue. This is 17. These are hard to find in like this shape. This is not bad. Ramona Fradon cover. She just passed away last year at like age 97, something like that, 98. Check in with the chat real cool. Lack in the house. Oh, my way to work. Have a great day, my friends. Hopefully, I'll see you all this weekend on the YouTube. So I hope so, Lack. It's good to see you, my friend. Hey, we got monetized yesterday and got 3 super chats. So how about that? That's cool. Thank you. This is kind of my thank you, impromptu thank you for everyone yesterday, just the support. This is a wonderful Gil Kane cover. I actually have an approval cover to this, a test cover to this. This is one of my favorite, if not my favorite Gil Kane cover, not because I like Creatures on the Loose, Thongor, but just the way it's designed in a circular way to keep your eye flowing in a circle and centered. And then he even puts the damsel into stress all the way in the corner here. Great lizard representation for you, Lorenzo. This is just a wonderful designed cover. Look how much he packs in on one cover. And it just keeps your eye going circular, going around where the swords are just all, it just keeps you focused where it needs to be focused. And yet he gives you the damsel in distress way down here in the corner, as well, almost off the darn cover. It's amazing. It's amazing. He knew what he was doing. Here's a Jim Starlin cover, Doctor Strange, black cover. Nice shape for the age. I've got some bangers in here. You'll see some very rare books. We'll see how far I can get. I'm hoping to go all the way to the end. Steve Ditko here. A couple copies of that there. These are facsimile of Mao and Kennedy, and I guess for America, even though he was already dead by then. Some of the leaders at the time, De Gaulle in France. The likeness is done by Joe Kubert. Great explosion cover. This is early Ant-Man here, I believe, without his costume. Gil Kane cover. Great Graviton cover there. Chat. Doc in the morning. Hello, Doc. So if you want to see what I've got in my collection, here it is. These toy catalogs here this is worth mentioning. I ordered a lot of different stuff out of these from the 70s, from when it first began. It was like Sears catalog for a comic book nerd, and often the artwork on most of these, if not all, had Joe Kubert artwork. I think I ordered the Batman utility belt and the Spider-Man one as well. I found Sons of Origins of Marvel Comics, which was like a sequel to an earlier book Stan Lee had written, reprints of like origin stories of like not the, first characters that came out with, but sort of the secondary characters that came out last. I still got my Corgi Batmobile from the 70s with the decals on there. It's a pretty good shape. It's a wonder. It's amazing. The fire burned up everything except my childhood, like what I had salvaged from my childhood. This is a Pizza Hut giveaway here. If I talk about every book, I'll never get through this. But if you have questions about something, you better make it quick, because I'll check back with the chat. A lot of these dollars had wraparound covers. You can see Wonder Woman here. Usually nice wraparound covers. Sometimes with different artists, they would divide it up. The front cover for one artist and the back cover with the other features. That might be a second copy of that Adventure Comics. I guess it is. I mentioned in the previous box that apparently I've got 2 copies of that. It's my one of the first comics I ever bought. Or an early one, let's put it that way. Zeep here from Dial H for Heroes on Adventure Comics. You will notice that Rob Ewing on my campaign is a picture of Hopper. I gave him this character. I was like, I want him like hopping around like a, like this character, like Spider-Man does, somewhat, and I gave him that for reference, and he actually used that pose for Hopper. These are all characters created: Echo, Zeep, Ariel, White and Black. See, there's White and Black, done by DC Comics. Before Art T. Baird did it. Gladiator and Music Master, all created in this Bwana, or this wildebeest villain here on the cover. George Perez did a lot of these covers. In fact, he did the last cover for Adventure Comics before it went to digest form for the last 2 years. I still say, how cool would it have been if they would immediately went back to full size after 2 years of being digest, but they just canceled it after 503 issues, and then years later went back to full size with the title, but it wasn't the same. But those are characters all created by the fans. I actually submitted a character called Fusion, and half-heartedly do it. I thought it was a neat character, but DC actually owns the rights to one of my characters. Radio Shack giveaway promo here with the Major Disaster as the villain. That is his name. How about that? TRS 80 computer. Wow. Man from Atlantis, that was on TV on NBC. Scarlet Fever in the house. How are you? Bone, good morning, folks. Just leaving a like because I'm heading out. I was going to ask if you were okay after that tornado outbreak last night, but I see you're fine. Yes. Yeah, the sirens went off several times here. They did for Elsie, too. They actually started over there in Jackson, Tennessee before they did here when I was doing the 4 o'clock shadow. They went, I took some sleep aid and went to sleep because I was going to drive over to Memphis today. Jonas in the house. Hey, Jonas. Yeah, we made it. I and Abby made it through the storm just fine. This is a reprint. They did some nice reprints of the old early 60s books. These are like 80 pagers that they released. That's a reprint of an old one. That one is too. Very nice books. I actually had some stat sheets to this one. That's an Ernie Chan cover. Stat sheets were made up and, distributed about with the different creators, that they're at DC or Marvel. I can tell by this guy's face down here that was inked by Steve Ditko. Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko. I like Steve Ditko inks over. They did all those early Matt Atlas. That was anytime Steve Ditko inks over Kirby, I've enjoyed it every time I've seen it. The lighting may vary on some of these. There's Bloodfire Zero. Like I say, you may see some doubles. We saw a lot of these in the previous box. And Captain Planets. Unless I'm just... What box am I on? Oh, I'm still on box 1. Okay, so we went all the way around. Duh. Okay. Well, we'll go on to box 2 then. Or box 3. Sometimes they're out of order. Now, these here I bought a Mike Kaluta cover, as you can see. I bought like a lot of 10 of these on number 1s. And these are signed in ballpoint pen way back in the day. 4 out of the 10 of them were signed by Mike Kaluta. So he like etched or embossed his name. That's and they're on the cover, so that kind of makes it neat where you can appreciate it. Usually back then they would open it up and sign it on the inside. And I think I still have all 10 issues there. Gil Kane cover, Jim Lee cover, Jim Lee. I think that's Ed Benz. Yeah, I like Ed Benz stuff. Showcase presents. It ran 104 issues. This is one of the latter issues after they brought it back after a while. I think it might have taken a hiatus. I'm not sure about that. So if you don't like comics, you probably won't like this stream, but this shows you a lot of the newer comics from a lot of the Aztec, the Ultimate Man. He's an interesting character that DC came out with. Scooby Doo, where are you? That's New York Post exclusive, distributed in a paper. So that's a promo comic. Generally, promo comics aren't worth as much. I did read this Battle for Bloodhaven was actually pretty good. Maybe because I got the books. Really enjoyed these new Teen Titans that had Tom Grummett artwork. Although Shelby Robertson doesn't like. I really like Panthera back there too. She's a cool character. They should do more with her. She should be a big character with that look. This is the character here. I want Fanta's character to kind of be based on the Dark Angel. My version of the Dark Angel, kind of raggedy and cloaked. That's kind of what I have in mind. I can tell when I skip one. Oh, come on now. This had the first appearance of Night Force, 16-page comic in it, stuffed in the middle for no extra money. That's what I'm going to do with Midnight and the Roustabout. Stick a 16-page visual comic in the pulp, in the middle of the pulp, when I get around to doing that. I'll be doing a lot of writing like Doc Blaylock. I take it you didn't get any storms, Doc, on your end. Good morning, Kate. Hope you didn't get any storms last night. Gonna run, my friends. Just pulled up to the house girl. Yeah, thank you, Lack. He's going to work. Yeah, getting monetized. Yeah, and I got 3 super chats yesterday. It was very nice. Very nice of everyone. There's the first appearance of Panthera there. Cool character. I would say that's a good one to invest in because it's first appearance and nicely done by Tom Grummett. I think that character's got potential. That's George Perez cover. A lot of Titans book here. I've got a lot of Titans books out there that aren't photographed yet. So this isn't everything. I actually do have a number 1, but now their very first appearance in DC Comics Presents, which was in one of those 16-page preview, I do not have. I went to an early convention, the Memphis's first convention. I do not have to drive to Memphis, by the way, today. I was going to drive to Memphis and pick up Terry, and she's in the hospital. So apparently she didn't fly out or was not flying back to Memphis today. So maybe I know she was kind of weak. These are some rare independents. I know I went through some of these. I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go through uh, a bunch of these. I'm going to try and go through all of them, actually, just to show you very quickly what I have. I like this cover. I like Dave Hoover's art style somewhat, sort of retro art style. I think it fits this very well. Like that run. Supernaturals here. Got redesign of Brother Voodoo and some other characters, Werewolf by Night, Ghost Rider. Very cool. Halloween mask inside. Collect all 5, including the rare Ghost Rider mask. I don't know what mask I have in my copies, Uh, there's a list of all the characters there. Gargoyle from uh, Defenders, Black Cat. Don't know where Black Cat comes from. I guess maybe Black Cat being uh, was it Peter Parker, or is he public domain? I can't remember. That sticker's not on the book. It's on the. I just never have replaced the bag to this one. And we're back to the front here, I think. Yeah. To the signed Mike Mignola, or Mike Kaluta, rather. So that's book 3. These is out of order. So here's 2. Let me just down this real quick. And, oh, thank you, Kate. Congrats. Thank you for the super chat. You are the top chat of the day. Thank you. GI Combat, featuring the War That Time Forgot. That's a series that came out in the 60s. Part of the New 52 when it was out there. Also, sort of an update on the Unknown Soldier there, as far as got the cam on his helmet and everything. A little bit modernizing that character. This is an Andy Smith cover. I said, I really like your how you did the Living Mummy. And he says, I don't remember drawing the Living Mummy. And I was like, yeah, it's on Quasar. And I couldn't remember the issue number. And he was so intrigued. He was like, looked it up, and 46 or and he also looked at some other older stuff, and he was like, wow, I drew Spider Woman. He was looking through some old files. That's an Andy Smith cover. That's Andy Smith. Of course I bought that when it came out. Are you kidding? Hell yeah, with the Beast. Can't remember. No, it's not this issue. I've actually got a Marvel team up with the Beast in it. Grammel page, original art page. Having my morning coffee with lime juice. George Perez cover. Oops, skipped one real quick. Oh, sometimes it wants to skip one. Maybe the finger is quicker than the. This is early Scott McDaniel artwork. And that's Scott McDaniel. I like Scott McDaniel artwork. Some nice Ghost Riders here. I mean, look at the condition of that. That's in near mint shape, high grade, whatever. I mean, black cover. Hard to get in that shape. Hard to keep in that shape. I love this cover. I always have. That's Texaria cover. Look at that. It's supposed to be alien hands reaching out for him, and they threw the thing in there. Thing, Rocky hand. Got some manga like comics that were, through Antarctic Press. You'll see a smattering of about everything here. Nice Galactus cover. Check the chat with lime. Yes. No mayo, please. Hold the mayo. Uh, this is a Kurt Swan cover. Kurt Swan from Evolution Comics. You ever seen it? Probably not unless I've shown it to you. Kurt Swan drew Superman for over 30 years. Here's Atlas Comics. They never went with any of their issues over 4 issues, all new reprints. They took on Marvel there for a little while. Got some mainstay people. I believe this one here is a Neil Adams cover. The first Tarantula. Didn't last very long. There's Creed #1. Trent Kanuga. That's probably, I went back to that. Love Thunder Bunny. Started out in Charlton Comics. Here's the Warp Graphics or Apple Comics, one of his. There's another one. He would cross over with Thunder Agents here. That's so cool. Here's another Atlas. Read all 25 issues of the Savage She-Hulk. I wish they would have kept her savage. And she really does look savage up here by John Buscema. I will be doing a John Buscema book here next after Devil Flyer, The Art of John Buscema. All of it unpublished. Work. Glenn Fleming and Elsie is going to contribute to that as well. A lot of the art. I love this Gil Kane cover. That's so cool. Conan. Quite a diversity. A lot of people kind of focus. I'm kind of like all over the place. There's Steel, the Indestructible Man. That was one of the titles that was canceled in 1978 when DC canceled a lot of their titles. Challengers Unknown, Dead Man, and Swamp Thing were in there. This is a Buckler and Abel cover, but around this time, Mike Nasser did a lot of those covers, and that's where I discovered Mike Nasser. This is Dreamsmith Studios book. Look at that artwork. That's great, isn't it? Here's another nice conditioned Super Friends. I might have got some. This is number 17 like the other one. I may have gotten these from I probably got these from the comic book shop, which is great because these are hard to find in good shape. They really are. They're doing an omnibus that comes out in, I think, November or December around Christmas. Jaguar with God, Frazetta cover. I tried to collect all these that I could. That was sort of Dzanga's Vortic Comics. Love that. I'm going to back up to this one. The only reason I have this issue here, which is nice, Rick, I was trying to, a lot of books I get like this, I've got like a art piece. This was not the book that the art piece went to, the production artwork, but it looked like it was a good candidate for it because it was dealing with a fire. But I did somehow find the issue later that it actually went to. There are some production pieces that I have not identified yet. 20th issue here, or 20 years. Spawn, Savage Dragon #1, sort of homage cover. Check the chat. There you go. Romance Comics. Marcus Killigrew. This is box number 2, so already hit some romance. Oh, look at that. Mars Attacks and Image. Art Adams cover. Action Comics #1 homage cover there. First appearance of Superman. Swamp Thing. Couple copies. This was a big book when it came out. There was a lot of buzz about it. Miracle Man. Number 15, the last issue, is low distribution and hard to find and worth a lot of money. You know, maybe $1,500, $2,000 in good shape. This is a Hastings variant. Hastings was the largest distributor of comics nationally at one time. They were kind of like pop culture type thing. I'm really surprised people didn't know about Hastings, but then I guess it was a regional Southern thing. Picked up several Hastings variants when they went out of business. Altogether, I think I got 1,500 comics from them, and plus vinyl banks, statues, different things, art supplies, CDs. There's the Heap. He's the original swamp creature. These Air Boys here from Eclipse Comics, and they did start them off cheap, you know, at the time, 50 cents bi-weekly. They were a little thinner, but I would pick those up. I thought that was a good stratagem for them to take. And that's what introduced the Heap to me in the 80s. But he goes all the way back to the 1940s. George Perez cover here, Brave and the Bold. Sort of second series with that. Another Perez cover. Make sure I didn't skip one there. My friend that I was drawing with at age 16, that was my partner in my comic shop, he ordered these Kara when they came out, mail ordered them because he liked Good Girl Sexy Cheesecake, and he would use that for reference to draw his characters with. These are all connected covers. You see like Batman's cape there, and then Batman cape here, and all connected covers. Trinity or like covers like that. Very neat idea that they did with that. Brian Bolland cover, always like his stuff. There's a talent showcase that they did for newer artists kind of breaking in, which I thought was a great idea. This is a sort of full cover. Sometimes it shows off good, sometimes it doesn't. That's a nice full cover for Metal Men #1. This index here would tell you all about that. Is George Perez cover, definitive directory to the DC universe. I always like that. All these in the M's, wraparound covers. Very cool. That's George Perez cover. And kind of like this, both of these are newsstands, so that's cool. But what year? It probably doesn't matter. Most of them were probably newsstand back then at that time. Sometimes I'd rather have the direct. Sometimes I would rather have the newsstand. All right, I think we went all the way around on that one. And this may take a while if we do 35 minutes per box. I'm getting a refill. Okay. Yeah, it was 5 minutes ago, Rex. Keep up. You're behind. Okay. Box. Well, we've actually done 3 boxes in 35 minutes. All right. I'll try and pick up the pace without being just a blur. A lot of these are DC Comics Presents. I mentioned the other day. This was the second appearance of Vixen in comics, and I've got a couple of copies of that. All these were DC Comics Presents. Some of them I had, like I bought this when it came out because I really liked the Legion of Substitute Heroes. Some of these I did not have. So I have a really good run of DC Comics Presents. I think I could get a whole complete run very easily if I just put my mind to it. It kind of like Showcase, or Marvel Team Up. Marvel Team Up had Spider-Man in it. DC Comics Presents Superman, with different teams or different people, characters teaming up with Superman every month. Eventually, you go through all your characters. I think that's why a lot of those titles end, Who have we not used? Because they don't want to reuse. Occasionally, they would reuse one. This is the last issue. It was canceled because of Crisis. Went 97 issues. That close to 100, and they cancel it. Stupid! Who do you think would like to buy 100th issue? Everybody. Stupid. Stupid, stupid. But DC doesn't always make the Death of Superman there polybag. That's cool. Gorilla cover. The Inner-Man, I mentioned it before, kind of inspired by this, just like the outline of character of blank. That was one of the inspiration for Inner-Man and other characters. This was from the Daily News, a promo sent out with the newspaper. Die cut cover here with the symbol. Look at all the creators that was on this. Look at that. Ray Bradbury, even Terry Austin, John Byrne. I mean, Steve Ditko, Jack Kirby. I mean, Bernie Wrightson, Steranko. I mean, wow, what a great issue. And this was one of those that were gold ink, very tacky when it first came out. Gold ink took a while to dry. If you touched it, it would turn black at the acids and oils from your finger and leave your fingerprint on the cover where you touched it. That happened to me with one of my comics. I was like, oh man, that's full embossed. They also did a flat version of this that wasn't embossed. How to Draw Robotech. Any of these how to draw books are very popular. Very popular because people that read comics, they like to try their hand at drawing. And if it's going to lead them, that's a Frank Miller cover. The Escapist. I like The Escapist. Scavengers. This I like these actually. Glad I got a whole bunch of these individually numbered. You get to see the print run there on the cover. Adam Post put these out. These are early Adam Post comics. This is too Adam Post. All these Triumphant comics were Adam Post comics. See anything you like, I might, really like. I might have, a double or something, or be willing to get rid of it. Sell it to you, trade, whatever. Give it to you, send it to you, whatever. Don't get greedy now. That's Art Adams. Just checking the chat. This was great. I bought that when it came out. This was good. I love the coloring on this. I'd love to know how they did the coloring on that. I guess it's a painting. but just the printing of it, it's a matte finish. That really stood out to me. And that was a lot of money. $4.95, that was a lot of money back then at that time. That was one of the more expensive books to get. And it was reprinting, 2 features out of the black and white Punisher magazine, which, was all new to me because I never bought any of those, never even seen any of those. There's my second copy of the video. No, we just kind of came around again, I think. All right, so going on to box 5 here. Bunch of X-Men. I always love this cover here. That's a Walt Simonson cover there. This here came with some action figure. When it says not for resale and it's got the black around it there, this was like a reprint issue that came with the action figure. These in pretty good shape because they tend to get bent up, and these in pretty good shape. If I see these out in the wild, I'll pick them up because you don't have to buy the action figure, and I think they'll be worth something one of these days, especially in good shape. This is the first appearance of Bishop, but it is a second printing because it's the gold version of the cover. Unpolybagged, polybagged there. Shows you the list there of the storyline, and plus an official Marvel trading card featuring Strife Strike File. Part of the Executioner song. They were polybagged. Plastic, put in plastic. Here's one too with the card showing. There's one. There's the card there. Still have some in the polybag, and I have some in the raw, like here. I'm curious. Let me go back. Okay, so I guess the polybag ones were the direct ones, meaning they were at the comic book shop. Terry Austin did the inks on that cover, by the way. But now here's a newsstand that's polybagged. So I don't know exactly. Maybe somebody can clarify that for me. Were there polybags on the stands as well? Or just at the comic shops? I liked Superboy and the Reavers. I read that. I like the artwork, the Tom Grummett artwork. I think he ran longer than most. Great Gil Kane cover. Look at that. Just kick him off the cover. New Warriors really enjoyed that. For the most part, die cut cover there. That's an interesting book that Eclipse did. Robin Hood, book 1 of 3. One you may not have seen before. Dinosaur Rex. Of course, I like that. It's got my name in it, and it's black, sensitive cover. Lizard representation for Lorenzo. There's a 3D comic reprint. Check the chat. Shadowhawk, good morning, all. I have a great day. He's at work. Little mini series here, Fathom from the Elementals. Aztec Ace. I love Aztec Ace. I actually had an original Aztec Ace, either from issue 4. I think it was from issue 3. Uh, Dan Day artwork. Uh, Nestor Ronaldo and the inks, I think. Just beautiful stuff. It might have been from issue 4, maybe the splash page. It's sadly gone. Burn up. Captain Daring. Love this B movie comics. Just so cool. Retro. The World of X-Ray in that too. Backup story. Gobbledygook. This is worth a little bit of money from the Mirage Studios that came about $20 last time I checked. In this shape, near mint. The makers of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Aircell. I got a bunch of Aircell when Hastings went out. And I used to have in my first collection, some of the Aircell that I bought. Shatter. This was the first digital comic from a computer ever made. All the artwork done from computer. All this artwork here was done on early computer. So it's kind of pixelated, but it's cool. That was kind of the draw of that book. It was all, I love this, where it's kind of just sketched out and goes into color. That's cool. I'm going to have to use that on one of my covers one of these days. Love these Eclipse painted covers in the 80s. Great Jack Kirby cover. Love that with the eel and the gladiator with the buzzsaws on his arms. Wasn't introduced to the gladiator as a character till Frank Miller Daredevil. And that was one of the few Frank Millers I bought. Great cover here with the Thing. Very reminiscent of the first issue of Fantastic Four, where he picks up the tree and swings it at Reed. Oh, Conan number 11. Ha ha ha. Of Barry Windsor Smith. Oh, kind of went. There we go. Gil Kane. Adam Post here. Ashcan edition. 50,000 of those made. One of the early comics I bought. Jack Kirby cover here with the Thing and Liberty Legion. Introduced the Liberty Legion, some of the Golden Age heroes to me. I mean, what kid could resist this? I like the Thing anyway, and just fighting Nazis and, all these neat characters that I'd never met before. I mean, hell yeah. A lot of fun. Miss Marvel number 3. I do have a few Miss Marvels. Number 4. This was one of the first ones I ever bought. This crossed over Marvel Team Up number 47 with this was the conclusion of the story that started in Gil Kane cover here. That started in Marvel 2-in-1. We'll eventually see that. Living Mummy. Second appearance. His first appearance was issue 5. Issue 6 was not the Living Mummy. And issue 7 here is the second appearance of the Living Mummy. Not in that great a shape, but at least I have a copy. Everybody should have this book if they like Marvel Comics. Galactus, The Origin. Supervillain Classic. Just a one-shot. A comic about Galactus. All Galactus. Come on. This was actually riffed on Cartoon Network. This story. Great story. Highly recommend this. Ron Wilson artwork. Ron Wilson cover. This story was made into a cartoon later. Dial M for Monkey on Cartoon Network. Great story. Great annual. First appearance of the Champion, too. So it's got a first appearance in there, and he's kind of like an elder of the universe for Marvel. There's a She book for you. Manga She. That's a Neil Adams cover there. That's a great cover there. Adams Special number 1. Of course, I picked that up. The Beast. Another Shadow, number 6. Number 10, Mike Kaluta cover. And we went all the way around. All right, so what else we got? Hey, this is a marathon stream if you haven't figured that out yet. Let me check the chat again real quick. All right. They actually redid this cover later on, and kind of reissued it in Murphy Anderson cover. Hawkman number 6 here, like the winged gorilla. Yeah, look at that. That's an old one. First appearance of this insect here. Garotu. One of my early comics had this story reprinted. There you go. So cool. Gil Kane cover. They actually used this Kane cover in Avengers on a reprinting this issue. Occasionally they would have a reprint fill in. That's original there. That's not, although I think they've taken this and actually reprinted it. But this is an original. Pretty good shape, actually. Early DC book. That's original. 12 center, early. Metal Man number 17. Like that. It's just the very colorful characters there caught in the web. Just reminds me of a Jackson Pollock. Kitty Capers. This is from October 1957. Kind of obscure book. November 1954. Kit Carson and the Trail of Doom. America's Greatest Indian Fighter. That's an Avon book. Avon publication. Nothing to do with Avon that mothers around the house used to sell. 1955 on this. Marmaduke Mouse. Little 12 center here. Great. This is the prison one that I was thinking of the other day from Adventure Comics. 301. It's actually got the origin of Bouncing Boy in this issue in the back. Rags the Rabbit. This goes back to 1946, I think. I mean, this particular issue, this is how old this is. Something like that. Number 12. 46, I think. Memory serves me right. This is an old one. Tales of Astonish. When it was Atlas Comics before it became Marvel. These are considered in good or good minus condition. They're worth about $50 a piece in this condition. Probably more than that. That's what they were. That one's got a signature or something on it to identify it. Often mothers would do that for their children, so that they get their books back or whatever. Yeah, I bought a few of these, got them for a pretty good price, about $20, $25 a piece. They were worth about $50 when I bought them on eBay. Now they're worth a little bit more than that. Early, later Atlas stuff before it became Marvel. I love this ant cover there. All-Star Comics came back after a 20-year hiatus, and they started in the late 70s and brought this back and introduced in its pages the Huntress there in purple and Power Girl there, which is kind of like the Earth 2 Supergirl. First appearance of Beta Ray Bill here. Iconic Walt Simonson cover. Wizard half issues. Got some of those. Got a bunch of these with certificates. When the way I got them, I got a few by ordering them off, but I stopped after a while on that. When Wizard was selling on eBay their stuff out of the warehouse to get rid of it, I bought a bunch of those. Long boxes full of different books. March of Comics. This one's from Sears, but the ones that they would do like this for the shoe store was realistically probably the first comics besides the Sunday newspaper, the newspaper strips were probably the first exposure I had to comics, were the little giveaway promos that they gave at the shoe store. Here's acrobatic children tested shoes. So, and I'd, of course, seen these characters. There's Red Goose shoes. I'd seen these characters, on the Sunday morning cartoons by then. And it wasn't till the early 90s when they started coming out with some of the 60s cartoons again for the very first time on VHS. I'd not seen a lot of those cartoons since the 60s, and it jogged my memory. I remember in the 90s going to Blockbuster and, oh, look at that, 1966 Marvel cartoons. Okay. And the Filmation DC comics in it. It really jogged my memory. There's another where it kind of goes from pencil work to fully inked and colored. Very cool. I'm gonna have to do a cover like that. This was I have the Jack Adler approval cover to this, the production artwork to this cover. This is by Luis Dominguez. He was the one artist that drew. He was the first artist with issue 11 here to draw Swamp Thing cover after 10 issues of Bernie Wrightson. It was not till the Jack Adler collection that I've got production artwork to this one, or did have this one here too. These are some that I gathered up. That's a Luis Dominguez. I had production artwork. There's a Mike Nasser cover. I had production artwork. Those stats and stats to this one, issue 3, Ernie Chan. This is Ernie Chan as well. I had production artwork to that, to this. In some cases, I still do this here. No, it's Jack Kirby. Here you go. Another romance comic. Actually had production artwork to this one and this one here too, which I traded to Shadowhawk. Firestorm number 4, the first appearance of the Hind. He only ran 6 issues. Love the gray gargoyle there, turn you to stone with his right hand if he touches you. Have production artwork to all these. That's an early GI Combat quality comic publication, came out with GI Combat. This is number 26 from 1955. Before DC Comics took over the title, they just continued the numbering. That's an early GI Combat too. These are all put in order. 1957. This is after DC Comics took it over now. 10 centers. So this is number 49. That's 26. So somewhere in there. Not sure when DC took it over. These are early DCs put in order. There's a gray tone cover from 1960. Very cool. Those generally go for higher. That's why I collected these. That and the price was right. Gray tone covers, though. These are all done by Jack Adler. These gray tone covers. He's the one that kind of brought that into comics. Came up with that. Gray toning, you don't use the actual black. Sometimes there's partial gray tone covers. A lot of the GI Combat and Sea Devils books had gray toning covers or partial gray tone. Big in the 60s. There were a few in the 70s. I still think eventually I'll do a gray tone cover. I've got my bucket list of what I want to do. This is a Toys R Us X-Men limited edition comic. Nice Sentinel cover. That's what I am. I'm a radical dreamer. Radical dreamer. Black Ball Comics. Dream big. If you hit the mark, if you miss the mark, oh well. Nice Savage She-Hulk. I actually had a production to that. All right, what do we got here? Just checking the chat. Thank you again, Kate from Orlando, for being the top chat today. Appreciate that. Nothing but respect and love. This early for Kate. 94, not in that great of shape. Picked it up for about $20. I had production artwork to this cover. I think that's why I always like to show an example of the book, and this was the best I could do because these early Thors, he only made his first appearance in 83, and this is 94. So this is an early journey into mystery. And most of the pertinent stuff is there, all the writing and stuff. I mean, yeah, you miss out some here on the bottom and there on the side, but nothing there. And then here, part of the title. But other than that, you pretty much know, what the cover's about. So pretty good pickup for $20, I think, to sell with the art piece. I mean, I keep the book, but I always like to picture it in color because often the production artwork is in black and white. Another great one. I don't know that I bought this one when it came out, but yeah, this came out around that time that other Liberty Legion came out in Marvel 2-in-1. Got some Howard the Ducks too. A lot of these books I wouldn't even have if it weren't for buying production artwork. All right, went all the way around with that. Let's pick us another box. Box 8. This is cool where they put all the back covers. Once I get a bunch of covers, and stuff, I'll do something like that. Once I get a bunch of comics out, I'll do anniversary type thing like that eventually. If I live long enough. Got my bucket list, like I said. Scott Collins that did the Flash, he did this like Thor, Blood Oath. Sal Buscema there. I do think this is probably the first appearance of this this Time Syndicate or whatever they call it. Kind of became a key issue. Maybe the second appearance of Zaniac back there. That's X-Men #1 homage cover. Avengers #1 homage cover. Love that. Black cover. Try and find that in near mint shape. Walt Simonson run. Nice. Walt Simonson. We must be moving along. Bunch of Thors in this one. Ron Friends artwork. He had a pretty good run on Thor. I wouldn't have that many of his run if it weren't from, not buying out. I had a John Buscema piece that might have been based on this cover. Of course, this is the most used trope in comics, probably, where the limp body is carried by someone else. Superman did that with Supergirl on Crisis of Infinite Earths #7, I believe. Went with the bearded Thor there for a while and a little helmet redesign. First stunning new epic issue. I think his last, when he changed his back to more traditional, I have that, and it's actually like a color error on it. That one I may get slabbed. This I think it's supposed to be reminiscent of the Grinch. You know, with silhouettes, you can make it look like something, and it's not, because it doesn't turn out to be the Grinch, of course. If you look at these, look, this is the same book, but different, and they're both off the newsstand. But you'll see I'm going back and forth. This lighter gray here kind of turns into a brown or whatever, kind of light, darker gray, whatever. Kind of going back and forth. You can see the color difference. That's, and then here's the lighter one, sort of in between. It's kind of neat to see that. That's an early Fantastic Four homage cover. Love Annihilus. He's just a cool looking character designed by Jack Kirby. Bug-like. Here's that color. Actually, this is all supposed to be green instead of blue. You see a little bit of green right there. This is a color error. Even back in the Ditko box there, that's supposed to be green. This is actually a color error on this issue. I don't know. That's why it's so light there, you know. This one actually should have been pulled off. They should have added more ink. So this is kind of a rare book, you know, unique book. I'll have to get that one graded at some point. Nice Keith Pollard cover. Fire Lord. He was Herald of Galactus. Bill Sienkiewicz cover there. Check the chat real quick. Marv E in the house. Hey, Marv. And Omer Glitch in the house. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Marathon stream, my friends. That's Walt Simonson. How long will Rex last? Will he last to the very end? I'm not sure I can. It'll take me hours to go through my whole collection. I bet you I get about 50 boxes in at least. I'm going to try and do them all, but got to pick up the pace. I got to go back. Like the movie there, he had, you know, Executioner in the movie, had the machine guns. That comes from the Walt Simonson run. Number 250. I think my cousin had this one, or maybe 249. I think it was 249 when I was a kid growing up. Cousin had a handful of books. Some of these I have production or had production artwork too. Like all these. Not this. Yeah, I love these War That Time Forgot with the dinosaurs. In the early 60s, there's the early one. Issue 83, Tales of Suspense went 99 issues and then became, I think, Captain America with issue 100. Star Wars homage there. Here's a Wizard half edition. 100-page monster. What a neat cover. Reminiscent of the first graphic novel. Lots of comics. I mean, we're talking about 30,000 comics here, folks. Neil Adams wraparound cover. I actually had a production piece to that. This one here too. I still got a page, interior page from this. Had a page in that one. You look at some of these Superman, they're expensive. The Silver Age Superman. You know, if you want them in pretty good shape. John Fernandez is working on the 50s Superman run. Now he completed from January 1960 to December 1969. He's got some of them are slabbed and some of them are raw, but he's got all of them. I'm really surprised he's kind of like collecting like that later in life, you know, him being about. I don't know if I said hi to him on his birthday or not. I did talk to him recently. All right, I think we're done with that box. Lots of Spider Girls here. Number one. I've got them in order. I don't have all the issues. A lot of these I got from when I bought that comic book shop out after my fire. Glad to have these though. I did read this Supergirl there for a while, the later issues. I've got some of the ones that were made into digest form as well. I enjoyed reading Spider Girl, and then became that amazing Spider Girl. Started over with issue 1 after 100 issues. I wish they hadn't done that, but I often sometimes hit refresh. Sometimes it works. I just don't like canceling. You can always rethink the title and change it, but keep with the original numbering. There's the last issue. I've actually got production original artwork to this issue here, number 99. I've actually got an original page of artwork of Sal Buscema from that issue. They did a 0 issue here, homage cover to Amazing Fantasy 15. Here's some of the first few, and I wasn't able to collect all of them. Really like that. You know, the Falcon's daughter in the future. She was a cool character. These are all future characters in the Marvel Universe Fantastic Five in the future. Franklin Richards has grown up. Next, some of these have actually become, that's an homage to Fender's cover. Some of these with first appearances of some of these characters have actually went up in price a little bit. Little Journey into Mystery 83 homage cover back there. John Byrne Fantastic Four. Here's Charlie Brown, although they won't admit to it. There's Charlie Brown down there in the corner. Little Easter egg. Did John Byrne ever draw Charlie Brown? Well, yes, unofficially. Steve Lytle cover there, 80-page shot. Steve was a nice guy. I wish I had been able to talk with him more. Bought one of his original pages, Teen Titan pages that he did. This is a cool box with some of the Hanna-Barbera characters. Hell yeah. This one here may actually be, this was the issue that I bought from Jack Kirby's inker, Royer. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but this is actually part of his collection. That book there, unless that's a second copy. I got a certificate of authenticity with it. So they're so cool. They never did these Herculoids and Moby Dick and Shazam and Birdman and Space Ghost and Galaxy Trio. They never did that many of these, but I've tried to. I think I've got all of them. There may be and there's another one, Young Samson and Goliath. Used to watch all those cartoons. All those cartoons didn't last that long, but wonderful. Every one of them, action packed. The music, love it. See, here's a lesser condition. Here's a better condition. Some of these may be multiples. Exiles run here. I've got a lot of the floppies of the Exiles, but I've got oops, look at that hand placement. Uh-oh. Well, they're, you know. Oops, skipped one there. I've got all the Exile, and that's about 7 or 8, something like that. 7 trade paperbacks of the Exiles. There are 100 issues. And then they came out with the new Exiles. Closely akin to kind of What If, where they go through the multiverse or whatever, the characters. Some remain constant and the roster changes. Actually, a pretty neat idea. Neat book. I've read all the issues in the trade paperbacks. Love this artist. He used to do Title for Cross Gen. He's one of my favorite. Look at all this, all the different Wolverines. Attacking. So cool. Great artist. I've got some doubles of these. I'm sure I got a bunch of these from, if not all these from. That looks like a Greg Land cover. New Exiles Zero there. So second series here, called the New Exiles. Few there. Homage covers. There's number 4. What does Rex have in his collection? Well, we will see. We will see. Don't have to drive to Memphis today. Sadly, she's in the hospital and won't be flying in today. But she'll let me know. Hopefully she's doing okay. Prayers for Terry Reno, my neighbor. Please and thank you. She was kind of weak when I dropped her off a week ago. Of course, she's not been strong for a little while. Her son is living with her today. I think he kind of, yeah, I haven't seen him, so I guess he's kind of taken off and went to work somewhere. But usually he's around. Great covers on these. Just a fun book to read. Especially if you know, love Ego, great Kirby character with the Living Planet. I came up with a nice Ego story not too long ago. Can't remember what the concept is. I think I wrote it down. Look at that. This got Vision's head there, kind of like a trophy room. There's the skeleton of Wolverine. Well, they gave him long claws on that one. There's been a few issues where they've shown Wolverine's skeleton. Check the chat real quick. Well, I should have just left that up. Let's see. I'll leave that up. All right, let me go back here. Homer Glitch is blitzkrieging me till the break of dawn, you all. Yeah, absolutely. 100 super chat to get him to stop. Yeah, there you go. Those are awesome, Rex. Did you photograph all those? Yes, I photographed all of them. Love them raw. Wasn't that Supergirl run like 1 through 10 were by Bart Sears? I don't remember him being on there. I think maybe Sal Buscema did all those, but maybe 1 through 10. I don't know that I have the very first one, Sommer. Steve Lytle was awesome. You were missed last night, bud. We had a packed house. Well, had I known I didn't have to go to Memphis, I would have been there. But now it was storming too. So, I don't like to be on the internet when it's so, stormy. I never knew if the lights never did give out. Later's back to bed. Have a great day, friend. Yes, good speed to the neighbor and best wishes for her. Yes. Yeah, you can watch this on replay, maybe. Or maybe not. Gil Kane cover there. Captain Action was action figure. That could be anybody, any character. Marvel and DC characters. Classic Illustrated. A lot of kids use these to write their book reports by. Robert Louis and Stevenson, the Black Arrow, that did Jekyll and Hyde, among other things. That was a movie. Dale adaptation, photo cover. Early House of Mystery. I've got a good run on House of Mysteries. Love these fantastic masterpieces that reprinted a lot of Golden Age artwork. Again, Gil Kane cover. Gil Kane just all over the place for decades, Nice Ross Andru cover. Wonder Woman. First appearance of the Creeper there in Showcase. Showcase number 73. First appearance of the Creeper by Steve Ditko. The early House of Mystery, 10 Senate. Showcase. And we're back to the front. So a new box now. Box 11. A bunch of Thor in here. That's kind of a key issue there. It's got Korvac in there and the Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh, Abby. Another annual. I don't think I had this one. I missed this one when it came out. King size annual number 1 with the Liberty Legion, but got it now. Jack Kirby cover. Some annuals. That's Mike Mignola cover there, by the way. Jack Kirby. Thicker annuals in this book. All annual box. Great story on this, The God Eater. I bought that and read it when it came out. Great story on that. Korvac, love that. Mike Mignola cover there. Yeah, 1966 annual there. Reprints Daredevil number 1, Avengers number 3, and the first time they Submariner, really the first crossover of the android Human Torch and Namor from the Golden Age. reprint. Art Adams cover there. Got some production artwork to some of these bloodlines. A couple of these bloodline annuals got the covers. Production artwork to the covers. Here was one of those with gold ink, and if you touched it, it would, I remember these being real gummy, and I couldn't resist not touching it because it looked gummy, and it was gummy, and it ruined my book. Left my imprint on it. The ink just wasn't dry yet. Klaus Janson cover there. That was Sam Keith, I think. That's a reprint. Nice joke, or Infantino issue here. This cover here is by Gray Morrow. I like Gray Morrow. Didn't know anything about him till 1983. He was sort of worked on the animation of the designs and whatnot for like Alex Toth did for Hanna-Barbera. He worked on the animation designs for I think I'm rounding about again. For Spider-Man 67. Some more annuals, or one more there. This might be John Byrne artwork in that. Looks like Dave Cockrum cover. Don't have very many of those. I wish I had all the John Byrne issues. That's early John Byrne stuff. Sal Buscema covers here. John Byrne's brother. Multiple issues on some of these. This is like stock that I got from, not these here, but a lot of that was like stock I got from when I bought the UFOs. I love the UFOs. The 43 are, some of the characters are based on the UFOs. Which had the really retelling origin of Fantastic Four. So a lot of this stuff is going to be kind of a commonplace, not that exciting. There's Todd McFarlane. Because I, bought it from comic shop, and I got what he ordered, They're kind of mixed. Comic shop stuff, and I hate this. That was probably a freebie. Variant cover with Obama on the cover. Probably should not. It's probably a good rule of thumb not to put political leaders, especially divisive ones like that, on the cover. Let me go back to that one. This right here, or this actual version here, is actually, kind of went up in value a little bit. Here's sort of a manga Punisher issue. Had to go back and show you that one. This one's kind of went up in price. I think they were kind of doing something with that character, maybe in episode of something on TV. I don't know. Look at that. Of those painted covers. Look at that. Yeah. get your pad out and, you know, you go, oh, I want that one. Let's see. Good checklist. There we go. I think I skipped one there. Ant-Man and Marvel features. Great Gil Kane cover there. Let me check the chat. Tank Ferret in the house. Hello. Gray Morrow is a great artist. I agree, Glenn. He definitely is. More of the illustrator type. This one's kind of sun faded, I believe. Number 1, though, Thunderbolts. John Byrne did the interior artwork to this one. Very cool. That's when he was doing some of those Marvel team ups. Great Gil Kane cover here, you know, by the Defenders. Some of his best covers were these Defenders covers. I think he was the seminal artist, cover artist for Marvel. Although Al Milgrom did a bunch too, but I just really appreciate how Gil Kane designs a cover like this, you know. That might be Howard Chaykin there. I'm thinking that's maybe Howard Chaykin. Howard Chaykin was Gil Kane's. There we go. I was talking about it earlier yesterday. This is not the actual book, you know, from my childhood, but this was my very first Rich Buckler, John Romita on the art chords there, this cover. Need a better copy. I see oil stains up here in the logo or something. But still pretty nice shape except for that. Very first Hulk I ever bought. Very Conan-like character on the cover. I did know who Conan was, and this is the one I was talking about with the warthogs and Jarella. My second Hulk I ever bought. Oops. Skipped one there. Runaways. And I think we went all the way around. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think we went around on that box. So we'll get another box here. Number 15. They're kind of out of order here. Check the chat real quick. All right. Dynamic Forces here. Issue. Variant. This is probably the one issue you want to get. A lot of people don't know about it. The holiday special from 1980, because it's probably the first artwork that Frank Miller doing Batman. It is, if you turn this cover here, Batman is the first story, and I had a plate to the splash page of that Batman cover. I had to identify and find this. Probably the first time that Frank Miller drew Batman for DC was this holiday special, which was a Christmas story. Opens up with him sort of, I think, swinging in. Very tight work for Frank Miller. Very tight work. One of the first books I ever got was issue 2 of this, DC Comics, DC Superstars of Space, issue 2. I'm sure I have a copy of it somewhere. We'll come across it somewhere. This is, I always love this. This is Rich Buckler cover. But Trevor Von Eden was doing some of this stuff for Red Circle too. Blue Ribbon Comics. I talked to Rich. Rich Buckler was at the 1983, and he was talking about Red Circle, that they were going to bring back Red Circle, and I'd never heard of Red Circle Comics. It was the 80s, exciting stuff. Joe Kubert School First Folio book, got a bunch of those. Sold a couple of those on eBay. Creature Commandos run here, #1. Light Brigade. This was an interesting book. That Mobius going up against the living eraser. They're being erased with the swap of his hand. Swipe of the hand. This is a George Perez cover here. Very nice. Mordred the Mystic, #33. Ernie Chan cover there, I believe. I bought this one back in the day when it came out on the stands. Never did get the conclusion of the story. Another Perez cover. Around this time, sometimes they'd have Byrne covers. Often they'd have Perez cover with John Byrne insides. The best of both worlds, in my estimation. Had a production plate to this cover, I believe. Nice George Perez book that I missed back in the day. Somehow I missed it. And it's got the Beast on the cover. Hell yeah, I would have bought that back in the day, but I never saw it on the stands. Occasionally I'd miss an issue. That's a John Byrne cover there with Quasar. There's actually a scene here. This is the one. Sadly, that's got a date on it or something somebody wrote on it. Maybe a distribution date. But this outline of this pink character here in the back was actually used in Devil Flyer in my comic, an outline of Devil Flyer on that 2-page spread. And that's up on there. There's the nice George Perez cover. Starhawk, Guardians of the Galaxy, Stingray. Nice Stingray. Never gets enough. That's the thing about having like team up books like that. You eventually run out of characters to feature every month, and you kind of had to work those characters into books. They kind of had to be one and done, but they kind of did, so I hated this era of Marvel where they did those sort of half cover. Oops, skipped one there. Al Milgrom cover. That's a John Byrne and Senate cover there. Lots of negative space. The Snowbird Effect. Some Jay Lee covers here. Rob Liefeld. Love these, Dynamite or Black Terror here, Dynamite coming out with the sort of superhero project. Love these with the Alex Ross covers. Very cool. He didn't do all of them like he didn't do this one, I don't think, but very cool. Old Batman checker top cover. Check in with the chat. Congratulations on monetization. Thank you, my friend. Absolutely. And we did have one super chat today by Kate in Orlando. Love you, dear. Appreciate that. Hope you're doing well there in Florida. Want to come see you sometime. Say hi. Great cover there. Still in the poly bag with the card. Neil Adams cover. So should I take those things out? Kirby Genesis. Did you know about Kirby Genesis? Alex Ross cover there. Got a few of them. Charlton comic there. Toxic Crusaders. Yeah. I wonder, special all toilet issue. I wonder 3 septic stories, more mung for your money. I wonder if these will go up in price. Look at the condition of it too. I've got several of these. Final issue of RoboCop, 1991. See, newsstand edition, and direct edition. Final issue. So this one here is going to be about 1% of the run. Sort of harder to find. Final issue. Usually people weren't buying it either, so probably need to send one of those off and get it graded. Slab, sell it. Bill and Ted's Excellent Comic Book. Number 2 there. This was a promo book from that I picked up at the for free at the grocery market. Man, that was hard to say. At the grocery, right down the street from me. Gene Roddenberry's Lost Universe, number 1 from Techno Comics. Yeah. You got a third printing of this one, you got a valuable book. That's a Dale Keown cover. Third printing came out a couple years later and is considered quite scarce. This is a quite scarce book here. Eradicators. All these Greater Mercury and Silver Wolf books. Very hard to find. I mean, or they're low print run. I don't know if they're hard to find. Some of the issues are. But these are some of the rarest books that I have in the independents. Look at that Wolverine look. Silhouette there. Put in there intentionally, I guess. There we go. Characters there in the Oval Office of the White House. Night Master. Legion X and Legion X2. Legion X, was that Legion X3? No, Legion X2. Don't think there was a 3. Found my first Greater Mercury book at a flea market. Here you go. Early House of Mystery with Dial H for Hero characters, which was kind of silly, but I've got them all collected. Here's I actually have a production piece to this cover. There was the first one when they first started bringing that feature to Adventure Comics. Carmen Infantino cover. That's a reprint. Or, well, I don't know that it's a reprint. It's something they did kind of in a high prestige format. Neil Adams cover there. Not that great a shape. Neil Adams cover there where he's on the moon. That's cool. Great iconic cover. Nice Neil Adams cover there. Neil Adams cover there. But I read a lot of these Superboys because they had Dial H for Hero backup in them. Tried to go back and I was missing a few of these. Collect them all. Gil Kane cover there. Inked by Gil Kane himself. Gil Kane. And we're back to where we began. So, new box. Marathon stream today, folks. How about that? These look like bigger, thicker annuals in this box. A lot of the painted covers on these Pulp Heroes they did that year. All the annuals had a theme. That's kind of nice. I do have a bunch of multiples of some of these annuals. A lot of these were polybagged and came with trading cards like this one. So cool. And that year they were all original characters' first appearances. So don't know that they were that great of characters and that they've used them and that they've kind of went up in price. Greg Land cover there. Mike Mignola cover. Mike Mignola again. Always liked this one with Molecule Man. They changed his look, you know, his host character or whatever. This was featured in a Marvel ad. I always wanted that book. Now I have it. From an ad back in the day. These are like reprints of that was. There you go. Jack Kirby, the man. An intimate glimpse of Jack Kirby in his life. Glenn, you got this one? You probably do. Commanding number 32. Some photos of Jack Kirby in that. An interview by him. John Byrne cover here. Machine Man cover. Love that. Machine Man's one of my favorite characters that Kirby created. Some newer books here. Nice 70th issue. Take that, Hitler. Nice old House of Secrets, number 55, 12 center. Battle of the Titans. Gil Kane cover, if I'm not mistaken. Early Gil Kane cover. There's Gil Kane cover. Got a bunch of these around this time of Spider-Man. Multiple copies. Maybe they'll be worth something one of these days. Usually Amazing Spider-Man. I came up with a character from this Tumblr character here called the Human Weapon. Kind of like a Dead Ninja type character, you know, good in the martial arts. Rip Hunter Time Master number 18 here. Got some nice Rip Hunters. Usually because, you know, this is an early title of the early 60s and varying conditions on them, you know. I've actually got production artwork to some of these covers. So this is Pat Broderick cover. Very nice. That's a Whitman variant there on this Superman. Got a few Whitman variants. Whitman variants were laughed at one time, but not anymore. Another Obama cover. Always love this 63 run from Image. Sadly, it didn't last that long. There's actually an ash can to this issue that I have in my collection. We'll see it later. All right. I think I did that box fairly expediently. Bunch of X-Fact. There's ROM. I think that's I don't want to speculate. Oh, that's yeah, I was thinking it was Dicko, but it's not. It's a P. Craig Russell cover, I believe. There's a early Michael Golden cover. Didn't look at the, just checking the chat there. John Byrne cover here. Sasquatch. Nice John Byrne covers on these. Yes, the infamous number 6, the Snowblind issue. If you know, you know. Look at that. Bo Jackson. Ted Williams. I've got way too much. I need to cull it down. You know, if I just took the the doubles and the triples and the quadruples out of my collection. Just the extra stuff. It would, cull it down quite a bit. That's a Jim Lee cover. I wonder how long it took him to draw that. Glow in the dark cover here. Number 1, Galactus. Toy box. Look at that. The Max. Are you looking? All black cover. Yeah. Breakage of color. Oh my gosh. It happens. These are ones that I picked up when I bought out the comic shop. 97. Almost 30 years ago. But I'm glad I had them. I actually had some of the original Max. Probably not some of this collage stuff. Look at that. Look at the texture. Look at the texture on that. That's kind of like Paul Klee and his paintings. With burlap and whatnot. Gauze, I guess. Very cool. That's what comics can be. Artistic. All these paintings. I'm just going through these very fast, but all these are paintings. That's creepy. Quite a diverse collection, though. I'll give you that. Whisper. Love Whisper. This just the character, the ideal of that. This is cool. Black cover. John Byrne cover there on Action Comics. Art Adams. Chris Claremont wrote this. I think Mike Plug did. Yeah, Michael Plug. Yeah. Did artwork in this. Here you go. Polybagged with the card. First appearance of the Face Thief. Key issue. First appearance of Rogue here. I bought this when it originally came out. I think I got 4 or 5 copies of this, actually. Kind of a key issue before it went up in price. I missed this one when it was on the stands. Great George Perez cover. It's just an annual that I missed. I never saw on the stand, so I missed it. It was not till years later, till the internet came about, that it was like, oh, I missed that issue. There was always a gap, Walt Simonson cover. And I think we circled around. New box. Some noms here. Check the chat real quick. Nom number 1. Michael Golden artwork on these first issues. Nom was a hot book. A lot of buzz about it when it came out. I think these will do very well on resale. Apple Comics. Picked up a bunch of these. Free Comic Book Day. This is a neat book, Silvestri cover, convention exclusive, limited to 2,000, embossed. Look at that, man. Look at the coloring on that. So cool. This is neat too, that rainbow holofoil cover. Ramos cover, Dynamic Forces book. Very cool. Look at that. Top Cloud Classics there. Michael Turner, rather, cover. Look at the detail. Look at the detail of everything he's got in there. So cool. I've actually tried to go back and get some of this Aspen stuff that's signed by Michael Golden. There you go, Sergeant Rock, 400th issue, 1985. Joe Kubert cover. Joe Kubert. Joe Kubert. Nice Joe Kubert. Look at that. Collected helmets there. The Abominable Weapon. This man is American. His safe return will be rewarded $1,000. You could be in the Superman movie. Details inside. Oh, great cover. Look at that weird war tale. Some of these are harder to find. They really are. Creature Commandos and G.I. Robot. Ross Andru cover. First appearance right there. First, second appearance. War books in the last decade or so have really started to go up in value. One of my favorite covers, I just love the angle that the plane is careening out of control and the flagman there running on the deck and the guns going off in the background. Just a great cover. Sadly, don't know who the artist. I've never looked up who the artist of this particular book is, from Charlton. Silver Age, 12-cent book. One of my favorite war covers, though. They actually did a redo. They often did on these books, like they would, and like this kid's face here reminds me of Michael Golden artwork. You know, but done back in, well, this is the 60th, so that's 60 center, but there's also a 12-cent version of this as well. There it is. There it is right there. So here's the original. And there's the one that came out later for 60 cents in the 80s. They Charlton did that, especially there toward the end before they went out of business in the 80s. Love how they divided up the cover here with all the different things going on. Very cool. I think I skipped one. Extra Civil War adventure. Ooh, Nazis and Civil War. That's a great cover. I bought that when it came out on the stands. First appearance of Medusa, I believe, in the Creature Commandos. Only female member of the group. Elsie had couple production pieces to this one, to the cover. Steve Dillon cover. That Battle of Dunkirk combat. They did 2 reprint issues, 1 and 2 of Boyd Commandos in the early 70s. I've got a number 2 Adler signed by the cover, approval cover to 2. It's a reprint of old Kirby stuff. Iron Corporal. That was originally in Charlton. Don't know what this is. The back. I don't know for some reason. Oh, I know what it is. It's probably war books that I'm pressing, but I still took a picture of it. I'm pressing between 2 boards. That's what these are. This is Billy Tucci, his run on Sergeant Rock, Lost Battalion. That's an early Adler from the 50s cover from his collection. One of the earliest, number 46 GI Combat. They won several $1,000s though. That's from the movie Land of the Unknown. And I think we came around. No box now. Diversity in Comics. I have it. Some more war books here. This is a cool Kubert cover there. Using 2 layers there. Check the chat. I'm off to Dadland. My grandniece is visiting today. Oh, cool. These look cool. Yeah. Appreciate that. Looks like we got some romance in here too. I saw a romance book. Love that thing there. Kind of reminiscent the way he's the Rocky thing, but he kind of looks rounded the way this artist drew him. I think that's Tom Grummett. That's Tom Grummett artwork, I believe. I like how he drew him. He's kind of lumpy, the original thing, but he's kind of rocky too. He's not angular. Nice Sal Buscema here. The Beast without his hair. Ace Comics, Zippo. There you go. Steve Ditko cover here. The last George Perez cover here, the last full-size Adventure Comics, and then they would go to digest size. The next issue, the very last full-size Adventure, $4.90, and with $4.91 they would go to digest size all the way to issue 503. So Perez has the distinction of having the last full-size issue on Adventure Comics before it was canceled. Steve Ditko cover here. First sensational story, first appearance of this character, Starman, that iteration of him, where they did Starman and Plastic Man for a while in Adventure Comics. Adventure Comics was an anthology. It could have been anything. There was no need to cancel it. I've said it before. The Mark Silvestri cover. One of the first comics I ever read before I started collecting. Right here. Picking up a post, much like he did in Fantastic Four #1, that other annual cover with the Watcher in red, looking very ominous. Coolidge, I do not choose to run again, in the papers there. Calvin Coolidge. One of the first comics I ever read. I was happy to add that. Another copy of this one. Tried to pick this up as anytime I see it. There we go. I had a production plate to this cover. Vince Coletta on the inks there. Maybe the artwork. Millennial embossed edition there. First Legion story reprinted. Here's another reprint that they did in the early 90s of that as well. Had a production piece to this, so I bought this book. That's how I wound it up. And I had this cover too, I think. That's how I wound up with that one. And this one, I had the cover too, I think. And I had the cover to this one. These are all, and I had the cover to this one at one time. Swan Books. Amazing Fantasy 15 homage there. Obscure book, man. Obscure. Excuse me. Here's an old one. Coughing and sneezing. Oh my. Polybagged with the card. Stranger's card. I like to go through these. Sometimes they give me cover ideas or, character ideas or whatever. Couple Machine Man issues there. Dick Garagano had Future Comics. It didn't last that long. Good solid stuff, but it just didn't last that long. Full cover there. That's a great cover. Anytime you have like a balance there, there's a early Defenders cover like that, number 16 as well. Outer Limits from Dale from the TV show. This is a 50s book, I believe. Danger, Men Without Fear, Danger number 2. Shark cover. Underwater. I often group these. See, you got an underwater diver there. Next issue, underwater diver. Always wanted to create a character like that. Maybe one of these days I will. Just never really kind of got around to it. And, somebody beat me to it with Downfall. 20,000 Leagues. Jules Verne. Under the Sea. Different iterations of that in comics. Another movie from 1967. Or 62, rather. $1955 here. Photo cover from a movie, Zulu. That 30 Days of Night. Dead Space. Mm-hmm. Nice question covers. I always like these where they're painting or drawing. Any cover that has that on there. Double Shot was a pretty good short run. All right. New box. Check the chat. Up to box 18. Woo! AC Comics here. I always like this cover. Based on a gaming, thing. These may even fit together, in a larger design. I don't know. Black cover. Skip one. Yeah. Midnight Skulker. There you go. George Perez. Last issue of the 4-issue limited series featuring the new Titans there. This was from Keebler Cookies, Keebler Company. Anti-drug issue that came out through sort of Nancy Reagan's Just Say No. There were a couple of issues of that with the new Teen Titans. Flash, got to do that once a day. And that was a Whitman, by the way. Whitman Flash number 36. Flash Gordon number 36 Whitman variant from Kona. Monarch of Monster Isle. Yes. Nice painted covers from Dale. This ran in ads all the time at the time. Very cool. Nuclear only lasted 3 issues, I believe. And there they are. Walt Simonson cover. He did some Metal Men covers. That's from a movie, Charlton, early 60s, still 10 cents. Walt Simonson. Charlton. There you go. These this book like this has the comic book on the back cover. They also got a variant where it's an ad on the back. Add a production piece to this. Sherlock Holmes is in that issue as well. Add a production piece to this. That's a cool one right there. Neil Adams cover. All mixed up. There you go. There's your rare independent grips. The Socketeer. Have you ever seen the Socketeer, which is a takeoff of the Rocketeer? Well, now you have. A slideshow for the mind, folks. Godland, very Kirby-esque. This was probably Tom Scully's first work I got to see. $80 that they were doing. I never quite caught these when they are these magazine. I never quite caught these, and this is wonderful. John Byrne work here with the there you go, World's Finest number 113. I've got some good World's Finest issues. Don't know if I have them all photographed. Got multiple issues of Infinity Crusade and Infinity Gauntlet from when I bought the comic book shop out. Navy, History and Tradition. There's one Doc would like. 1861, Naval Actions of the Civil War through 1865. Well, that's that box. This one's a French book. That's French. Batman, number 99. 52 pages, gorilla cover. How about that? Atlas Comics, Iron Jaw. Neil and Buzz in Space and Time. Fantagraphics book. Double feature. These reprinted Tales of Suspense. Collected an issue or two of those in the run. First saw that in Kroger, I think, or Skag, something. Spin a rack with my cousin. Memories. We'd go look for comics sometimes. Frogman. Let's see. This one's from 1963. Nice shark cover. Where's Blue Sasquatch when you need him? Plus the birth of Marvel Comics. Ooh. Anthem. That's Roy Thomas book. Very cool. That Adolf Hitler cover. You think you know who won the war. You're Rourke, 20 years of publishing. I had to buy these on eBay after I discovered them. Totally missed Anthem. Great. Oh, Thunder Agents, Wally Wood. Look at that. Number 50. Flash Gordon Whitman. Part 3, Part 1 there. Part 2. Such a mixture. This was the Ash Can from 1994. I think it was a freebie when it came out. There's a Gil King cover. Jimmy Palmiotti doing the ink chores on, the artwork during this time on Jonah Hex. Very striking cover. Herb Trimpe. Only one shot on this. I actually have a test cover to this cover. Only one shot. Only one of them. And first appearance of the Dakota Kid, by the way, who would make later appearances, I think, but that was a one shot on that title. Got a lot of Superman books. Love this artist. Love this artist. And I never can. He's Italian, I think. I never can think of his name. That's probably his last name there. I don't know. But great. I just love how he, the power of his work. This might have been. I think this is die cut cover here. And it's die cut on the back as well. I think this book came out from North Little Rock, here in Arkansas. So that's probably one you're not likely to see. I actually bought this copy, I think, from Mile High Comics. 80 pager here. Flintstones. Gravity, I read that. It's pretty good. Dark Shadows. Nice Dark Shadows. Don't have very many Dark Shadows. Just checking the chat there. Eric Powell work on these. I think I've got a few of these signed. Maybe not these particular ones, but they're probably in other boxes, I think I've got a few that's signed by Eric Powell. Plop. Basil Wolvington cover, #1. Couple issues. Here's one, and it's down here. If you look, it's Basil Wolvington and Jack Adler, although the sun's kind of obscuring that. But this is partial photo cover, as you can see the background there. This is probably about the only book, 1976, that has Jack Adler's, really signature on there. Here's another copy, obscured by the light there, unfortunately. I've got the Adler to this. Rare #1 issue. Captain Tax Time Premiere Edition. Shadow Pack, that was a good read. Another plot. Try and pick up, that might be able to see that Jack Adler's name there. A little bit. Here you go. That's an early king size annual, #1, 1965, the year I was born. It's got a little bit of, look at the price tag on it. It's got a little value to it in this shape. Vision Chicken, #1, first brain numbing issue. Fantagraphic Books. Rust, this is the #1 issue that is not sort of full embossed, but the nice cover nonetheless. I've got both. Early Spawn ad in that, so it's acquired some value just for that fact. #2, a Silver Surfer. There you go. That's when the church was in my backyard. There's another church there in the distance. They've demolished this church. That back building there is still there. This is my backyard. That's my old ash tree there. You can see off to the left there a little bit of my oak tree. I was taking pictures of the shadow of my tree here during the summer. All right, no, let's see, back that up. Let's see. Before I start that, let me, well, what was I going to check on? Oh, I know what I was going to check on. I'm not even, and the wheels of my computer keep on turning. I do have 3 shorts there. I used Doc's Bog there for in black and white. Thank you for the 14 likes, by the way, and the super chat, Kate, if I can talk. 2 watching now. Okay, well, you got to see some of my backyard. How about that? I think that's Bart Sears cover there. Some of the print runs on these showcases, Showcase 94, Showcase 90, 91, 92, 94, blah, blah, blah. And they do have some rare DC Universe barcodes on some of them. Some of these were very low print run. I know 17,500. That's not a lot for a book. If I come across the book here, these are like Showcase 93. They would start at issue 1 and go to issue 12 and then start a new year. This is the one, you look it up, it's only got like 17,500. I've sold a bunch of this, had extra copies of it. Art Adams cover here. Time Masters. Every now and then they had to dust off their characters that they don't use that much just to keep the copyright. After I finish this box, I'll probably take a break and then come back and probably be streaming most of the day to show you my collection. I am proud of my collection. Walt Simonson covers here on this. Jack Kirby, Fourth Worlds. Although this one I think might be a John Byrne cover. Or is it? Yeah, John Byrne. He kind of did his signature like Walt Simonson because he did all the rest. Ramona Fradon, artwork on that, 1976. Newer Plastic Man. I love that. Gesundheit. Nice little sight gag. The Heckler. Ronin #1. I've actually got a 4-plate production piece to Ronin. Frank Miller. Be hard pressed to get such a diversity of comics, in a person's collection as I have. I always like this cover. It's the all red cover. I think it just stands out against that white, almost 3D, the way they colored it. So if you want to see some great comics from my comic book collection, be tuning in. I'll be showing them most of the day today. This is kind of neat, distress cover, wrinkled and got a coffee stain there across the logo. That's Legion books, Legionnaire books, American Virgin. Some of this stuff you just pick up free at comic shops. This is a rare one because it's got the DC Universe logo. This is probably one of the rarest low print DC books. These DC Universe barcodes. Variant. Very, very rare. George Perez. My lighting wasn't always good with these when I took the pictures through my window. Kind of see the cross beams there of the shadow from the window. All right. So we will pick this up with box 25. Here's your preview. Nice Daredevil cover. I like how they did that. And we will be, back a little later. Thank you, Kate, for the super chat, and we will do another. Let's take a look. How long will it take? I don't know till I get done with it. Probably all day long. You don't go through close to 30,000 books very quickly. Bow for now and keep collecting, keep watching, and I hope you enjoyed this stream. Take care.